Hey, welcome back to my channel. I actually just got back from a little weekend road trip to Chicago and thought, that would make a great next episode. Indianapolis is centrally located near other big cities, so Chicago, Cincinnati, Detroit, Louisville, lots of great places within 2 to 4 driving hours. And so it's a great place to be able to jet off for a long weekend somewhere, and one of my favorites is Chicago. As I've mentioned before, I have lived there for a couple of years, and so I really want to encourage you, if you go to Chicago, to not just stay downtown on Michigan Avenue. Millennial Park, John Hancock Tower, those are all really great places to visit, but if that's the only part of Chicago you see, then you're really missing out. There's so many interesting neighborhoods and things to check out. I want to make sure that you do that on your next trip. So what I've done is kind of thought about what are some of my favorite neighborhoods in Chicago and what are my top recommendations for those 3 neighborhoods. So number 1 is going to be Oak Park, and that's going to be about 20 minutes west of downtown, and that's 20 minutes either by Blue Line, Green Line, or by driving, depending on traffic. And so it technically is its own city, but again, it's just 20 minutes from downtown, so it's really a great place to hang out if you are looking to not have so much traffic, and it's a quick in and out if you just want to check it out for the day. What you're going to see there, my first recommendation is the Frank Lloyd Wright studio home. If you know architecture at all, that name is no surprise to you. He lived in the Oak Park area, and so his studio is there, his home is there, and there's lots of great examples of his architecture and the homes in that city. I'm just going to throw out a number, but I'm guessing maybe like 20, maybe 30 homes that are designed by him are there in Oak Park. There also is a church that it's called the Unity Temple, I believe, that was also designed by him. So you can do walking tours, you can just pay and go inside of his house, or you could just kind of walk around the town and you can pick out his architecture. So highly recommend seeing that. All right, number 2 is going to be the Hemingway boyhood home. Hemingway, the artist, was born in Oak Park, and he lived there during his childhood, and his boyhood home is now a museum. So you actually can pay, go in, check that out. Definitely recommend that if you are a fan of that author. And then number 3, after walking around to see all those homes, you probably want to stop and have a drink. And so I'm going to recommend going to the beer shop. I absolutely love this little bar. It's a tiny little hole-in-the-wall place. It's a very short, curated beer list that they have, but it's really good. And my favorite part about it is that it's dog friendly, and so stop by, get a beer, pet a few dogs. Highly recommend beer shop. And the best thing about the beer shop is that it's located right by the CTA and Metro line, so you can definitely grab it at the end of the day before you head back into the city. All right, my second neighborhood for you to visit is going to be Wicker Park. You may recognize that name. I think back in the 2000s, maybe, there was a movie called Wicker Park. Unfortunately, it was not shot in actually this area of Wicker Park. I believe the movie was shot in Canada. So if you watch that movie, it's not going to really relate to the actual neighborhood, but it's a very cool neighborhood. I feel like hipsters lived in Wicker Park before being hipster was really a thing. I remember going there in college and it being just so different than anything I had experienced before. I would say the hipsterness has really left. It's becoming a lot more mainstream these days, but still there's a lot of interesting things to see and do in Wicker Park. So you're just going to take the Blue Line north as if you're going to O'Hare Airport, and about halfway you'll stop, and that's going to be the Wicker Park area. I think the stop is Damon. And so Wicker Park is known for a 6-way intersection, and really when you get off the L, you can go in multiple directions, and really any direction you go, you're gonna find something interesting to look at. Lots of restaurants, lots of bars. It's known for its nightlife. A couple things that I would recommend is all the vintage shopping and secondhand stores. Lots of just fun things to look at, try on. It's not necessarily the cheapest place, so if you're thinking it's going to be like Goodwill pricing. It typically is not. It can be a little expensive, especially for some of the vintage pieces, but super interesting, and there's just so many to choose from. Definitely suggest walking up and down the street, checking out all those little shops. And then second is my Optic Books, which is a bookstore. It has been in the Wicker Park area for years and years and years, and it is just this maze of bookshelves, and they have every possible book imaginable. And so if you love books, especially old books, unique books, this would be a good place for you to check out. And then third, a really interesting place is called the Violet Hour, and it's actually going to be a speakeasy. And so you do need to look on your map to find it because you're not going to see a sign. You will basically just see a line of people queuing up, and you'll see a single blue kind of bulb outside a building, and that's when you know you're there. It's a very classy bar when you get inside. They don't like you to look at your phones. They want to make sure that you are engaging with the people that you came in with. And so I would recommend, going with a small group of friends. They have fantastic handcrafted cocktails, and so they actually have a rule list when you walk in, just to make sure that everyone understands, this is not a place to go wild or crazy. It's a place you can sit, chat, enjoy time with your friends in a very sleek and kind of fun atmosphere. So if you're in the Wicker Park neighborhood, would recommend checking that out. All right, and for my third neighborhood to check out is going to be Logan Square. So if you know the Chicago area, Humboldt Park and Logan Square used to be really strong Puerto Rican neighborhoods, and they still are. If you walk around those areas, you're going to see cars with their Puerto Rican flags on there. They're very proud of their heritage. I will say Humboldt Park is still very strong Puerto Rican ties. Logan Square, I do feel, is becoming a lot more hipster, and you do see less of a presence of the Puerto Rican community. It is gentrifying. There's pros, there's cons about that, but what I will say is that there is a really great food scene there and lots to see and do. The number one thing I would recommend if you go to Logan Square is to get on the 606 trail. It's an elevated running and biking path going basically from Logan Square to the Wicker Park area. And so if you're looking for a run, just want to get out, stretch your legs, take your dog for a walk, would recommend checking that out. And then as far as food, I have two recommendations for you. First is going to be Niles, I can talk, 90 miles north, Cuban Cafe. There's a couple different locations. I do recommend the Logan Square one as that's the only one I've been to, and it's really good. Great food. Typically on Thursdays, I think they do a buffet, all you can eat. But if you're going to be out there on the weekend, it is BYOB. If you want to bring wine with you, you actually can pay, and they'll give you basically a pitcher full of fresh fruit, and then you can just pour in your own wine for sangrias, which is really nice. And so last time I went, you could do that. I would recommend just calling and making sure you can still do that, but I doubt they changed it. Chicago is really big on BYOB places. But the food is just delicious, very authentic, and it's just a lively atmosphere that would make it good for groups of people. I will say it gets really popular. I tried going last year with friends, and the wait was like 2 hours long, so put reservations in, get there early. There's a reason there's a wait or a line. It's really good. Just know that going into it. And then my third recommendation is a place I ate today, and so I'll add some pictures so you can see, and it's called Bang Bang Pie Shop. But it's more than just pies. It's a really small place. Their indoor footprint's not very large, but they have a back area with picnic tables, and so in the summertime, I really recommend coming here and sitting outside. But they do biscuits, they do pot pies, and they do dessert pies, and it is delicious. So when you go there, know that there will be a line, but it does move quickly. Again, they have a really small footprint for the inside of the restaurant, so you will be queuing out the door, but don't let that put you off. It is delicious. I get so excited every time I can go there. And so everything is house made. It's really unique. They do rotate all the different kind of biscuits they have, the different pies that they have. And so if you're looking for something a little different, very kind of cozy and warming, and you're not into low carb, don't even attempt to go there if you're on a diet. It's just so fun. And so would recommend going there if you're in the Logan Square area. It's just down the street from the California stop, and so really convenient to get to if you're coming from another part of the city. All right, so those were my recommendations for neighborhoods to check out in Chicago. Again, Michigan Avenue is great, but there's so much more to the city to check out, so make sure that you're getting off of the beaten path and checking out all that Chicago has to offer when you're there for a weekend getaway. All right, take care.